everyone, welcome back to another video. This week is just going to be a controversial parenting tag video. I see a lot of people doing it and I thought I would join along since I'm starting to run out of ideas for weekly videos. It gets tough. But anyways, I hardly even looked over the questions, so this is going to be as honest as it gets. I haven't studied these questions at all, so let's go for it. There's about, I think, 12 or 13 questions. So I guess the first one here, it says pro-life or pro-choice. Now, for myself, I would be pro-life, but I think that every woman should have a choice. So for anyone out there, I'm pro-choice because I know that there's a lot of different situations out there and circumstances, and I think that every woman should have a choice. So there's that one down. Circumcision. I guess if it kind of runs in your family of getting it done, it's good. Or if your son is having the issue of infections or whatever, then I would say, yeah, get it done. Adoption. I am pro-adoption if there's parents out there that know that they cannot give a child everything that they need. You know, it's not being selfish if you know that your child can have a better life somewhere else and be taken care of financially and given all the love that they need and care. So yeah, pro-adoption for other people if they need to do it. Baby piercing. A lot of people are so against baby piercings. When my daughter turned 3 months, we went and got her ears pierced. I think the younger, the better, just because they're not tugging at it at 3 months usually. It's done and over with. They don't remember it. My daughter didn't even cry at all. She was completely fine with it. We got this little numbing cream that we put on it 20 minutes before we went and got it done, and it was perfect. She never had any issues afterwards, and they get so used to it that, you know, if you were to get an older child to get their ears pierced, they're gonna be more prone to crying and tugging on it and trying to get it off. So this way she was used to it from the get-go, and I would do it if I ever had another daughter. Breast milk versus formula. Obviously if you can breastfeed, all right, then that's fine, but I had issues with breastfeeding. My daughter was having a reaction to whatever I was eating. She broke out. She had severe diarrhea, she'd get horrible rashes. So finally, after 5 weeks of trying to breastfeed her, I went to formula, and just like that, she was sleeping better. Her rash went away. She was having bowel movements, normal ones, not super watery, and her diaper rash even went away. And so with both my children, they had to be on hypoallergenic formula because they just had very sensitive stomachs, and they just puked all the time. And so for myself, formula. And I find also, I don't know if this is true or not, but it worked for me. When I did switch to formula, my kids started sleeping a lot longer periods, because breast milk's very thin and formula is a little bit thicker, so I find that they got a little bit of a better sleep with formula. CIO, which is cried out method versus other. With my daughter, since it was our first born, we did a little bit of the cry it out, but only for so long, and then we went to her. She was spoiled. My son, we decided to be a little harder on him, just because with 2 kids it's a lot harder, and the crying out method did work. He cries less often, and when he does wake up in the middle of the night, he usually just rolls over and goes back to sleep if nothing's bothering him. So I do believe the cry it out method, but only for so long. Like if they're gasping for air or puking or something like that, obviously you need to tend to your child. Spanking, I guess, like a very soft spanking I do believe in. Obviously I would never ever beat my children, that's just totally wrong, but a little spank I think is okay, just because it disciplines your kids. You know, a lot of kids these days are a little wild. They don't get disciplined, and they know that they can literally get away with anything. So spanking, you know, I think the thought to a child of spanking is more scary than the actual spanking. Like a little tap. I love taps. Co-sleeping. In the first year and a half, I would never ever co-sleep with a baby unless I was not planning on sleeping myself. I find that it's scary. Like what happens if you rolled over, and I don't know, I just don't even want to go there. But right now my daughter does sleep with us, but I would not allow it until she was, I think she was like 16, 17 months, and she was big, and I'm a light sleeper, and it's not like me and my husband drink to the point of, or drink at all really, that we would be passed out in bed or whatever. So co-sleeping I think is okay, but I guess it's better not to even go there, just to tough it out. So it's easier for you in the future. Like, I don't know what's coming my way, but I know I do want to try getting her in her own bed soon. It all started when she was having night terrors. She would just scream, like all of a sudden wake up and scream her lungs out. And like she was still sleeping, she wasn't awake. And the only way I could get her to calm down was to comfort her. So it's easier when she's right next to me, just to calm her down, and she'll fall back asleep. So the night terrors were a tough time, definitely. It does eventually go away, but you can't really wake them up. You just kind of have to like hush them back to sleep, because then when you do wake them up, it scares them even more, and it's just a whole nother ball of worms. I don't even know if that's a saying. That just came out of my mouth. Home versus public versus private versus chartered schooling. I think if you have the funds, I would do private, but that's not going to be our situation. Public, I think, is good for social skills. Home, if I guess you have a bunch of siblings, and they'll still get their social skills, and they'll get a lot more one-on-one time with learning. I know a lot of very intelligent homeschooled people. I don't know if I could do a good job at that. So I would do public, but nowadays schools are scary. Like honestly, you hear all these stories on the news. But anyways, I would say in the end, public or private if you have the funds. Nothing against chartered or home, it's just my opinion, obviously. Vaccinations, yes, I'm a strong believer on vaccinations, just because it has stopped so many outbreaks. And now I hear all these parents skipping the vaccinations, and then these kids getting sick with like measles and things that have been gone for so long, and you know, it's affecting other kids. And actually some schools, I don't know if all schools, they won't even allow your kid to attend unless they're up to date on their vaccinations. Medicating children, I guess it depends what you're medicating your kids with. My son is somewhat prone to ear infections, and if I didn't have medication for that, he would suffer, and gosh knows how long he would have the actual ear infection for. So medicating your children if it's necessary. Like even with teething, I find like I would only give Tylenol if they absolutely needed it. If your child needs to be medicated for something, then I'm a believer for it. Cloth versus disposable diapers. For the earth's sake, I guess cloth. I would never use cloth because I don't have the time, patience, or the stomach to rewash diapers. I love disposable diapers, and most of all, I love Pampers baby dry diapers. They're the only thing that I find works the best, especially if your child does sleep through the night and they pee a lot. I find that it holds up the best. It's a great brand. And final question, store-bought baby food versus homemade. I guess if you have the time and the skills to do homemade, it's better for them. I do a lot of store-bought baby food because I find like they have more variety. Like I wouldn't be in my kitchen cracking open a coconut and mixing it in with other tropical fruit that I would be carrying in my house or buying at the grocery store, because it doesn't last long on the shelf. If I were to buy like a whole watermelon, let's say, and I know that, you know, I'm not gonna be able to use it all. That's why I like store-bought. I find that they use a bunch of different foods that I never think of buying, and that way your child or baby is introduced to all these foods. And also, when you're on the go, you could just bring a pouch, let's say, and if you don't use it, you could just put it back. Like when you're doing homemade, it needs to be refrigerated and it only lasts a few days. And if it's frozen, it only lasts about, I think, 3 or 6 months, and then you kind of forget about it frozen, or if it gets freezer burned. So I like store-bought baby food. I was into the homemade, but I don't got time for that. So those are my questions. Obviously they're my opinions only, and I don't think that you should have the same one. Yeah, so that's this week's video. Hopefully this one turns out okay. And see you next week. And let's cue that music.
Hey, no, 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 hey, no, no.